Well, got something wrong with the service truck. It's making a howling sound going down the road. Not exactly sure what it is. And my driveway in my house over here is angled like this. So right now I'm parked on the side of a hill. So I need to go find a flat space and check it out. 388,000 miles on a V10. Now I really need to get another service truck, and I actually found another one. It's a 4-door F350, the 6.7, like a 2016. Kind of high mileage, but it seems to be working out for me when I pick out service trucks anyway. Had about 220,000 miles, and hell, this truck had 212,000 miles on it when I first bought it. But it was really, this truck is really cheap. It was $2,500 or $3,500. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. But it doesn't sound good. So a couple of blocks away, I've got this little flat spot, and it's usually where I work on my truck at. Nobody says anything. I do live in a gated community, but it's kind of a lax gated community. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna jack the service truck up, put 2 jack stands underneath the rear end, put it in drive, crawl underneath it, which is probably not the safest of things, and try to figure out where this sound's coming from. Unfortunately, the cool thing about having a small service truck, every time you need anything, you gotta like take all kinds of crap out of the back of your truck. All right, now those are off the ground. Well, it's not the transfer case. That's the rear end. I'm gonna need to get all the parts rounded up to rebuild the rear end or completely replace the rear end. And that sucks. The axle that I bought for my service truck had a pinion seal leak. So I pulled the pinion seal out and looked at the bearing, and the bearing, check it out, got Andrew Camara playing. The bearing is not any good at all. You see all those pitting? So Fords, pretty much all trucks with solid axles have a problem with this outer pinion bearing going bad. But I have to pull the race out at least, and I can't really figure out a good way to get the race out without pulling the pinion out. And to pull the pinion out, you got to pull the differential out. And to pull the differential out, you got to pull the axles out. So we're going to make Mason pull it all apart. Right, Mason?
Yeah.
So I really wanted to get this job done today because we're going to have a freeze here in Texas. And our winters in Texas only last like 3 days anyway, but it does ice up. And my fiance is a nurse, and she works at a assisted living kind of place, and she can't really call in sick. So I was hoping to have the service truck running and 4-wheel drive operating so I could get her to and from work if needed, and some other employees. But the service truck strikes again, and lo and behold. So this does afford me the ability to rebuild this axle. So like I said, we're going to pull the differential cover off. We're going to pull the axle shafts out. At least I'm going to make Mason do it. I need to pull the backing plates off once I get the hubs off because I bent the holy hell out of the backing plates. And go ahead and just go through everything on the freaking axle. Probably put new differential bearings in it, new pinion bearings, races. And I actually have 2 new wheel seals for hubs already because service truck out there just decided to chew up wheel seals all the time. But this axle came out of a truck with limited slip, so it has a clutch style limited slip. So I'm going to order the clutches and all the parts, and whenever they come in next week, then I'll put it back together. In the meantime, I'm going to be SOL and not having any work. Come on over. Got dudes around the neighborhood just show up and just steal your stuff.
I finished with the torque wrench. We just need it for one wheel.
Okay.
You want me to just keep it right here? Or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll put it on eBay.
Thank you, Steven.
You're welcome, bud. Let me know if you need anything else.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to go ahead and disassemble everything. I don't have any parts. I'm going to order all the parts tonight. Hopefully they get here by Tuesday or Wednesday. I get it back together, and I'll probably be down for a week, which sucks, but it is what it is. Also, of course, the Dodge is just still parked exactly where it's been parked for 2 years now. We're coming up on 2 years, so that's positive. Mason just hurt his knee. So let's get this thing disassembled. So we're going to take our calipers off first, and as you can tell, it's already open to the system, so we're already going to have to freaking bleed everything, so who cares if we open these up. Mason, I need you to take that 3/8 impact, the 14 millimeter socket, and take that banjo bolt off, okay? Hang on, pull it up. Take it off. Pull the trigger.
What?
There you go. Okay, you're going the right direction. Come on. Don't be scared.
I'm so scared. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Now we've got the banjo bolt. And I have an assortment of copper washers, so I'm not worried about the washers. I really don't want to get any dirt in there though, so we will put that bolt back in like that. All right, Mason, to this side. So Mason, this is called the brake caliper.
Okay.
This is a brake hose or brake line. This is how the fluid gets to the caliper, and we're taking off this bolt so we can take the caliper off, okay? So take that bolt off.
I don't like doing this on video.
It's all right, buddy. It's the first time you ever did it.
Oh my God. Did it. I feel like I'm
that back in
embarrassing
there.
myself.
You're not embarrassing yourself at all, buddy. You're doing a great job. Okay, now.
And I throw that in.
Okay, so we're gonna take this bolt off right here, and then this bolt off right there, okay?
Okay. How do I do?
Just pull the trigger. Pull it. There you go. Pull it. Pull it. Perfect. Okay, can you do that over here too?
Yeah. Watch out, baby. I'm coming king. How do I Okay, hold it.
Mm-hmm. Go. Pull the trigger. Pull the trigger again. There you go.
Okay,
All right.
I'm still embarrassing myself.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I embarrassed myself
Why?
because I'm bad at this.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, we'll leave that in there. Put that bolt down there. All right. Since you embarrassed yourself, you can redeem yourself by doing this one over here, okay?
Okay. Those ones are more clean than those ones.
Yeah, somebody's replaced this side.
Wait,
Oh, that's a different size bolt, isn't it?
so
We're gonna use a different size socket.
what is it on?
Yep. So Mason, this is called a 3/8 impact, all right? The reason they call it a 3/8 is because this square right here,
Yeah.
if you were to measure it, it's 3/8 of an inch. So we've got 1/4 inch, we've got 3/8 inch, we've got 1/2 inch, 3/4, 1 inch, and it gets bigger from there. But all of my stuff is 1/4 inch up to 1 inch. So use a 3/8 impact and take off these 14 millimeter bolts.
Oh, dang.
All right, buddy. Put your other hand down here. There you go. All right. Pull trigger. Okay.
Finally.
Same thing on this side.
I have to do it perfect.
Nobody does it perfect, buddy.
Oh.
Believe it or not, nobody does it perfect.
So,
Okay. Now we'll pull the calipers off. You recording?
Yep.
You sure?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Because it says 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna pull these caliper brackets off real quick. So right here, buddy. Put that fella right there. This side off. For those of you that are curious, those were 18mm bolts. Now we take our rotors off. Set those over here. Now we gotta take our axles out. It's gonna be on this side. Ready?
Yep.
Take these bolts out over here. Get a little closer, okay?
Here you go.
Take that up. Bring it over here, young gun. So film me. So you gotta watch putting your fingers on that lens, okay? Okay. So get me in the video.
You?
Mm-hmm.
I
So hold it with this hand, and then put this hand on the bottom corner. Okay, because the lens is right there. There you go. Now your fingers aren't in the way. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, so we got all the brake caliper, the rotors off, and everything in the axle bolts. Now, a trick to getting these axles out, and this works on any sort of full floating axle. Full floating axle means that all the bearings are attached to the hub and the outside, and then the axle itself bolts to the hub. So all the weight is transferred to the hub itself and not the axle. And like a normal vehicle, like a 1500 pickup or a car with a solid rear axle, the bearing is actually on the axle, and then the axle carries all the way to the vehicle. So even on 18 wheelers, you take all these bolts out, grab a sledgehammer, and that pulls it out.
Dang, that is big.
Yep, that's called an axle. So when these Ford 10.5 ends, they have kind of a funny little setup, little socket. If you can look in here, it has this kind of ratcheting setup. So you stick this guy in. That's our bearing. Then our hub comes out. Put that there. That's part of our seal that popped out. So we'll work on that a little bit. We need to get everything else disassembled. But our bearing actually looks good, so that's a good sign. All right, Mason, remember how to get that axle out?
So all you gotta do is hit it with a hammer.
If you guys don't know what these are oil absorb mats, and they only absorb oil. When you use them to absorb, when you throw them down, if it's on like a wet surface or if you have like they only absorb oil. When I worked in the oil field, we had these big day tanks, and the day tank is like a horizontal tank. It's like a 55-gallon drum or 200, 300-gallon drum of oil suspended up high, and that's where we would get our oil from. Well, it had to have like a little kiddie pool or a stock tank around it because if it ever leaked, you'd have to have a containment area. But that containment area would fill up full of rainwater. So when we came there, if there was a little oil in the bottom, we'd grab these, throw them on top of the water. That would soak up all the oil, and then we'd dispose of these properly. And then we would pump all the water out. So I fell in love with these ever since. They only absorb oil though. And the gray ones will absorb everything. These will only do oil. So if you guys want these, there'll be a link down in the description for them. I always have a link down in the description for these because they come in so handy. So I'll use my Snap-on approved chisel. Pull that guy off and we'll see what we got. Go ahead and go dump that guy in the parts washer. Smart washer's still going strong, which is funny because when I first got that smart washer, I had some naysayers in the comments talk about how they had one and it constantly broke and constantly had problems. And maybe theirs did, I don't know. But that one over there has been running flawlessly for 5 years now. So let's see what we got. Wear pattern looks okay. It looks pretty good. You can tell where it's been riding at. It's very shiny, which means that it's got a wear path all along the root and the heel, so that's good. Wear pattern looks pretty good. But now I need to take these cap bolts off, take the caps off, pull the differential out, and then we can pull that pinion out. What's up, Raymond?
Hey, these dogs are across the street.
Whose dog?
Come out. What are you doing?
Working on an axle. What you doing?
What are you doing?
Working on an axle?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I gotta replace the axle in my service truck.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm pulling it apart.
For your truck?
Yeah, I gotta replace this. So this part, you see where the rear wheels on the truck? You see the rear wheels?
No, this one?
No, the green truck, the service truck.
The green one.
Yeah. You see the wheels?
Yeah, I see the wheels.
So those wheels attach to the axle, and this is what this thing is. I gotta replace that on the truck.
Oh, you did?
And I'm going to. I'm fixing
wow. You did tell you got a TV in the garage?
it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. How you been?
Good. You wanna be on a YouTube video? You wanna be on a YouTube video?
Sure.
Here's my little buddy Raymond. Say hi, Raymond.
Hi.
Oh, let's clean that lens.
Oh, yeah, nice.
There you go. So this is my buddy Raymond. He lives next door to me. He's over here supervising, make sure that I do the axle job right. Right?
Yes.
He also makes sure that I go to church every Sunday, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Where do we sit at church?
The front row.
Why?
Because I love the band.
Yeah, I love the band.
It's a good service. I always play my best song in the world.
Which one is your the best song in the world?
My best song in the world is My God, I Need You Now.
Yeah, Same God.
Same God.
Called Same God. Every time that song, every time our band at church plays that song, Raymond is ecstatic. He is like super freaking happy about it. But
I am very happy about it.
yeah. All right, well I gotta get back to work. All right, so I got the carrier out, got the pinion out. Didn't film it because my cameraman went inside to go eat snacks, apparently. Busted out the inner race. I'm going to clean all the parts up and then I'll show you. Now, the rest of the bearings and everything look pretty good, so I'm actually not going to replace it because I'm cheap and lazy. But I will clean everything, then inspect it and advise. So let's clean some parts. Right, Raymond?
Yes.
You guys haven't seen Ethan in a while. Check this out. See how tall he is. Yeah, he's on his tippy toes now. He's like up to here on me. What are you, 6 foot tall now?
About.
Yeah, he's about 6 foot tall. Anyway, today's project, we are back on the rear axle. Ta-da! And I have the carrier out of it. Now, keep in mind, this is the axle that I bought that came out from a completely different truck. The factory axle is still in the Ford, but I bought an entire other axle for 2 reasons. One, on my service truck on this side, I've had problems with the threads. The threads are just completely boogered up in one spot. Also, the bearing that goes on the axle on that side, actually it slips too much. I had a problem with that wheel bearing and that hub one time, and I reused the hub, and then I welded the axle and ground it down. And anyway, long story short, for 300 bucks I got a whole nother axle, but it's a limited slip. So this is what our differential looks like, and it's got clutches in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this guy apart, take it over to the parts washer, clean it up, but we're going to replace the clutches with this Yukon gear and axle. This is a carbon fiber clutch setup for a 3-pinion. Now there's, once we get it open, we'll show you, but if you actually, losing my receipts. If you actually read the instructions over there, what you're supposed to do is you take some of this friction modifier, pour it into a bucket, take your clutches, throw your clutches in there and let it sit for about 15 minutes. So I'm going to dump all 3 of these into that little bucket. It's just a clean bucket. Put our clutches in there, and our gear lube that I'm going to use is going to be Royal Purple 75 140. Now you can read on the bottom, it says with friction additive. So it doesn't matter that we're adding more friction additive, adding the Ford stuff. You want to use the Ford stuff to soak the friction clutches immediately, because if you put that stuff into the oil and then you soak the clutches in oil, I don't think that's exactly what they're looking for. They want that friction modifier to be absorbed in the little clutches. So the clutches themselves are at the bottom of this kit. Now this is a pricey kit. It's about a $550 kit just for this setup. It is an upgraded setup. These are carbon, like I said earlier, they're carbon fiber discs, not regular, you know, the clutch style abrasive disc. So they are going to be a little bit more. Yeah, it comes with all your shims that you need to go in between your clutches. These are all solid metal, so there's no sense in actually coating these. But these clutches here are what we're going to need to those guys. So this material right here is the actual clutch material, and then once we get it apart, it'll make more sense. But what happens is you have your clutch material, you've got your disc that goes in between that, that's splined into there, and then your one side axle, whenever it starts spinning like this, these clutch discs will grab that shim material, that plate, and then apply not 100% pressure, but it'll apply pressure to it. And if everything's working right, the more you slip, like you spin the holy crap out of your tire, you'll actually, these will heat up and they'll expand and it'll cause more grip. It comes with these are called Bellevue washers. I don't know if you can actually get that on camera or not, but these aren't flat. These Bellevue washers, if you can tell, they're kind of convexed. And what that is once you clamp this all together, this pushes down like that, and it has like a spring kind of setup to it. I do need to read instructions on this because there's 2 of these. I don't know if we're going to install 2 of them or not. And I think some of the discs themselves are a little different. That's a 50 thousandths. There's another 50 thousandths. And then 30, 30. And then our normal disc material. I'm going to go ahead and put all these steels and the clutches into our bucket, pour the friction modifier in there, and let them soak for a little while. Now I was told whenever you add this friction modifier in here, it's not going to be enough to cover the clutches, so put all 3 bottles in here, put your clutches in, and then you can top it off with your actual gear lube. We're going to put our clutch plates in first because we're mainly worried about. Now I'm not going to replace the carrier bearings because I've already inspected the carrier bearings. The carrier feels fine. We are going to put a new inner and outer bearing on this pinion, and it shouldn't be any difference as far as the way this is set up. If you look right there, there's an actual shim. Since we're just replacing the bearings and we're not replacing the ring and pinion, our preload, everything else should be just fine. Now I'm still going to check it, and I'll show you guys how to check it later. But whenever you're shimming this stuff, you're really shimming it for the machining variances and the axle housing, not so much the machining variances difference in the bearings. So where the bearings go on the carrier and the pinion and everything, it's going to be exactly the same, and the bearings themselves are made pretty precise. They're probably not going to be more than like a minute off from each other, several minutes off, but we need to get, looks like a 12 or 13 millimeter, take these guys out, and then we'll pull it apart.
Oh, these? Mm-hmm. That's not supposed to happen.
So use this hand to hold here. There you go. Let's see if that'll. Are you tightening or are you loosening? All right, you're loosening. Okay. All right, we need to get a 1/2 inch impact. All right, had to get a bigger impact, huh?
Yeah, obviously, bigger the better.
All right, so put one hand here, hold that. I'll keep from spinning, and then there you go.
There you go.
Just set the bolt down that white pad. Quite a bit difference from that 1/2 inch impact to 3/8, huh?
Yeah. Wait, pick it up.
Mm-hmm. Set it right there.
Ta-da!
All right, and that's our setup. You can tell which way the Bellevue washer is going. It's facing down. And then those are all our clutches. So grab those, pick them up, and just set them down. Try to pick them all up at once. There you go. Okay. Now these are our pinions. It's a 3-pinion setup. So grab our pinions, pick them up. The whole cross will come out at once. Now careful, because all of those will fall off. You see these little shims?
Uh-huh.
We want those to stay with each other. So when you pick it up straight, and then take it over to the parts washer. But our bottom section has clutches in it too, so we're going to pull that out. You need to make sure which way that your Bellevue washer goes. So this one, the dishes both on both sides went out towards the axle. So we'll put that right there. Now we'll take this whole setup over to the parts washer. We'll wash it, and then on these, I need to go ahead and read the instructions and make sure how we're setting everything up, because there's a whole bunch of different shims and I don't want to mess anything up. So that's what our clutch looks like, and our plates or pressure. That's what our clutch and our steels look like, all taken apart. Can't really tell, but there is clutch material on here. The only thing I can find is the actual shim on this side has gotten some rust in it, and then we have our Bellevue washer. Now, according to the instructions, and they do have pretty good instructions, there is a particular tool that you're supposed to use, and of course I don't have it.
That's a surprise.
There's a traction lock torque tool that I don't have, which sucks, because what that does, that actually lines up all of your splines. And that's where the axle shaft goes in, so I'll have to put an axle over here, stick it on the differential, line it all up, so that's not that big of a problem. But the problem I do see is that tool right there. That tool and gauge you're supposed to have, you put it on your alignment tool, you clamp it all down, you measure it, and then you get your feeler gauge and figure out exactly which shim. Now what's funny is it says Bellevue washer, Bellevue spring. It's showing it with tabs, and that is not what it looks like. This is straight from Ford. So interesting that they have this. So there's a shim. That should be a Bellevue washer, not a clutch plate with tabs. I don't know why they have that on there. Then we put the cross back together. It does tell you to lube it with some, you know, Ford approved high temp grease, which we're just going to use some CRC. Put your spiders back in there, reassemble everything, and then you're good to go. And it gives you your torque specs and everything. Now, since I don't have that special tool, all I'm going to do is measure the old shim and then figure out which one of these shims they sent me that'll actually work. Put that size shim on it. Now, I was told that you can use a little thicker shim if you want to like set it up differently. But I read online that you could take this track lock setup and you could put different amounts of shims in it, or in kind of beef it up, and you'll have more of a bias, you know, and less of a bias and more traction on one side. And it's a 12,000 pound service truck. I'm not trying to break the tires loose on anything, you know, if one tire starts spinning on slick conditions like ice, because it's icy like right now. But even that's going to be pretty rare. So I'll put it back together, measure the old shim, and then go from there. What do you want? So we got everything cleaned up. Got our brand new Bellevue washer. It's going to face the wider part. You know, this outside ridge. You can kind of see how it's shaped like that. Goes like that. Now we need to assemble all of our clutches. Take them out of here. Put them on our hub. And then we will probably flip this upside down. Stick that whole thing in there. Then flip it right back up. Now, I don't have that fancy tool that the Ford instructions say, so I'm really not even going to worry about it. All I did was take my calipers, measured this old shim, realized this is a 60,000th shim, grab my brand new 60,000th shim, you can kind of see it on there. That goes down like that, and then we put all the clutches on our hub, and then the hub goes on there. All right, we're ready to go back together with it. Now, this is our bottom piece. I pulled those two off. That's the Bellevue washer or shim. Both of our old shims were 60,000ths. If you guys are curious, it goes steel, which is that one. It's got the splines. So your spline steel, clutch plate, alternate all the way up, and then your top clutch plate actually goes against your washer. Okay, and kind of messed me up because I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why does it go against that washer? It's not splined. Well, that's how it is. So I'm going to put this side back in that one, put the spider on there, and then put that side on top. And that's how it looks before we put the top cover on. Now, I did make a mistake, two mistakes, rather. I should have marked this cross, put a mark here, and then put a mark on the case. Try to get the cross right back in where it used to go. I don't think it's going to make that big of a problem. But also, I did not mark the top case with this case. But luckily, there's all these weird little marks on it anyway, so I should be able to match it up. All right, so it's together, and you will have, because of those Bellevue washers, you'll have a little gap for the spring load. I did manage to. You tell there's already two marks on there from something. And I don't know what causes these. It looks like the pinion actually scrapes into these a little bit. Maybe under a heavy load or something. I don't know. But I looked online, and there's every Ford 10.5 that I see has these little marks like that. But clean the bolt threads out. Get your new bolt or your bolts. So clean the bolts, apply some Loctite to it, and I'm just using this little quick stick of Loctite. Really love this Loctite, so if you guys want some, there'll be a link in the description. And this Yukon kit too, if you guys want to, and if you guys are trying to do the same thing with this kit, I have a link down in the description for it. Apply Loctite to your bolts, but make sure you clean all the bolt threads. Use some good brake clean. Clean the bolt, the female side out, and then stick all of our bolts in. Now, because this thing is spring loaded, and the same goes for pretty much everything, if it's got multiple bolts in it, start all your bolts before you actually tighten any of them. And then what I like to do is run them down until they just barely touch. and then go 180 degrees. So I did this one, this one. So when you tighten it down, run this one down, then come to here, then go to here, then over here, and you just do this cross. And what that's going to do is it's going to hopefully draw it down a lot more parallel, because if you just tighten the hell out of one side, it's going to wedge it real bad. All right, so that fella's done. Now I need to put that carrier back into the housing, and I've already cleaned the housing up. I need to put it in the housing, but before I do that, I need to clean all this RTV off and then clean the housing out. Look at my tubes, make sure there's nothing surprising in there. And I'm probably going to take these metal lines off just because I don't have an engine hoist with me. It's in my storage unit. And fortunately enough, my storage unit, they're apparently working on all the doors or whatever, and I can't get my storage unit because it's all digital, and for some reason there is no access to it. So I can't access my heater, can't access any of my tools, and it's just been kind of a weird deal. So I'm having to load this axle by hand in the back of the service truck. So back my service truck all the way down here, load it in by hand, take it over to a flat area that I can actually remove the old axle, put the new axle in, and I really don't want a chance messing these metal lines up. Now, if I do mess them up, I already have some lines on the old one, obviously, but it's just really easy right now just to take that bolt off, take that whole, that little vent right here is actually a nut. Take that off, that block comes out. I need to replace this block anyway because of that guy. And go ahead and take that side off, and then I don't have to worry about messing up the line. Only thing I got to worry about is bending the backing plate, which I can hammer out once we get it back on. But I'm going to go ahead and get set up and clean everything off. So I put that pinion flange on there, or pinion flange nut rather. I've got a little Loctite. Looks like it didn't smear in there, which I do want it to be on those threads. So that torques to 220 foot-pounds, which is about, oh, I don't know, 5 or 6 Ugga-Duggas. Now, I don't think I'm going to be able to torque this with my torque wrench off the truck because there's nothing holding the axle, the carrier, the pinion from spinning. So no matter what, it's going to be doing that. So I'm going to need to put my hubs on the end, then put the axles back in, lock the axles down, and then be able to torque it.